Have you ever set a goal, made a promise to yourself, only to find that time and time again you fall short? That inner voice kicks in, whispering, no, shouting, why can't you just do it? Why aren't you stronger? Why are you failing yourself? You're not alone. In fact, this silent battle is raging inside nearly everyone who dares to dream bigger, push harder, and reach higher. But here's the question. When that voice emerges, are you responding with self-discipline or self-punishment? Because the difference is profound. One leads you to growth, strength, and fulfillment. The other traps you in cycles of guilt, shame, and stagnation. Today, I want to explore with you the thin yet powerful line that separates self-discipline from self-punishment. Together, we will uncover how these forces shape your life, how to recognize which one you've been following, and most importantly, how to consciously choose the path that elevates you. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about willpower. It's about how you treat yourself when no one else is watching. Let's start with what self-discipline truly is. Many people hear the word and think of harsh schedules, rigid rules, or relentless pressure. But self-discipline, at its core, is an act of love. It is the respect you show yourself when you decide to keep your promises, not out of fear or obligation, but because you recognize your own worth. Think of self-discipline as a steady hand, guiding you through storms and distractions alike, helping you build habits that nurture your highest potential. It's the daily choice to put in the work even when motivation wanes. It's saying no to what no longer serves you, so you can say yes to your vision. Imagine a young artist, Maya. Every morning, she wakes before dawn to paint, even on days when the world seems heavy. She doesn't wait for inspiration. She creates discipline. When she stumbles, instead of berating herself, she says, I'm learning, this is progress. That mindset, one of compassion intertwined with commitment, is the heart of self-discipline. Key elements of true self-discipline include clear purpose. Knowing why you do what you do anchors you through challenges. Delayed gratification. The ability to withstand momentary discomfort for long-term fulfillment. Consistency. Showing up daily, no matter what, turns small actions into life-changing momentum. Self-compassion. Recognizing that mistakes aren't failures, but stepping stones. Now contrast this with self-punishment. When you fall short, instead of kindness, a harsh, unforgiving judge appears within. That voice doesn't uplift, it tears down. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. Why do I always mess up? These are the echoes of self-punishment, a toxic mindset that breeds guilt and shame. Consider Alex, a high-achieving professional. After missing a deadline, he spirals into self-criticism, replaying every misstep, isolating himself, and pushing harder to make up for failure. But this cycle only deepens his exhaustion and despair. Self-punishment manifests in guilt and shame, feeling inherently flawed, not just mistaken. Harsh inner criticism, negative self-talk that erodes confidence. Perfectionism, the impossible demand for flawlessness to avoid pain. Avoidance, steering clear of challenges to escape potential failure. This mindset doesn't motivate, it immobilizes. Let's pause here. Why do we fall into this trap? Why is the voice of self-punishment so loud for so many? It's deeply rooted in fear of rejection, failure, and not measuring up. It's the survival instinct warped into a cruel master. When we were children, many of us learned to associate mistakes with punishment, either from others or ourselves. These lessons become ingrained, creating neural pathways that trigger automatic self-judgment when we stumble. Moreover, in a world that glorifies success and perfection, vulnerability is seen as weakness. So, instead of embracing our humanness, we punish ourselves for not fitting the ideal. Here's the truth that can change everything. You have the power to choose. When you recognize self-punishment, you can interrupt it. When you understand self-discipline, you can cultivate it. This shift begins with awareness. Notice the voice you're listening to inside your mind. Is it the voice that says, I'm learning, or the one that says, I'm not enough? Then practice self-compassion. Treat yourself as you would a dear friend, with kindness, patience, and encouragement. Celebrate small wins. Each step forward is proof you're moving beyond old patterns. And most importantly, embrace vulnerability. True strength is not in never falling, but in rising every time you fall, without beating yourself up for the stumble. Actionable steps journal. Your inner dialogue. Write down what your self-talk sounds like after setbacks. Identify whether it's discipline or punishment. Set compassionate goals. Frame goals around growth, not perfection. Create rituals of reward. Reinforce progress with positive reinforcement. Seek support. Talk to mentors, coaches, or friends who encourage growth-oriented mindsets. Practice mindfulness. Become aware of triggers that activate self-punishment and respond mindfully. Let me tell you about Sarah. She's a brilliant writer, full of ideas and passion. Yet every time she sits to write, she hears that familiar voice in her head. You're not good enough. What if no one likes your work? At first, Sarah tries to silence this voice with harsh self-punishment. She forces herself to write for hours, pushing through exhaustion, berating every sentence. But instead of progress, she feels drained and uninspired. Eventually, she stops writing altogether, convinced she's a failure. One day, Sarah made a choice to shift her mindset. Instead of self-punishing, she began to nurture self-discipline. She set small daily goals, embraced imperfection, and spoke to herself with kindness. Over time, Sarah's creativity flourished. The difference? The voice inside changed from a critic to a coach. Sarah's story isn't unique. Many of us have internal dialogues filled with judgment disguised as motivation. But motivation fueled by self-punishment is like trying to run a marathon with a weight on your back. It's exhausting, unsustainable, and ultimately, self-defeating. Science helps us understand why these two approaches feel so different. When you practice self-discipline, especially with kindness, your brain releases dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter that rewards you for positive behavior. This neurochemical surge encourages you to repeat those behaviors. You build habits that feel nourishing and energizing. Conversely, self-punishment triggers the amygdala, the brain's fear center. It heightens stress hormones like cortisol, causing anxiety, burnout, and shrinking your capacity to think creatively or problem solve. Understanding these biological responses empowers you to choose practices that nurture your brain and body, instead of breaking them down. Carol Dweck's groundbreaking work on mindset offers key insights here. Those with a fixed mindset believe their abilities are static. They see mistakes as failures and often engage in self-punishment. On the other hand, a growth mindset embraces challenges as opportunities. It understands that effort leads to improvement. This mindset aligns perfectly with self-discipline, treating setbacks as data, not disasters. Shifting to a growth mindset transforms how you approach goals, learning, and life itself. It softens your inner voice, replacing punishment with curiosity and resilience. Words shape reality. How you talk to yourself in moments of failure or challenge is crucial. Replace "I'm a failure" with "I'm learning." "I can't do this" with "I haven't figured it out yet." "I'm not good enough" with "I'm enough and I'm growing." The language of self-punishment shrinks your spirit. The language of self-discipline lifts it, creating space for possibility. Practice speaking to yourself as you would a child you love, patiently, encouragingly, without harsh judgment. Even the most well-intentioned can fall into self-punishment traps without realizing it. Perfectionism. When perfectionism masquerades as discipline, it can become ruthless self-judgment. Overworking. Burning yourself out to compensate for not being enough. Avoidance. Giving up on goals because you fear failure or judgment. Recognizing these traps allows you to course correct, creating boundaries that protect your well-being. Daily reflection. Each evening ask, where did I show up for myself today? Where did I offer myself grace? Compassion breaks. When feeling critical, pause. Place a hand on your heart and breathe deeply, reminding yourself that you're human. Small wins journal. Track even the tiniest successes, a powerful way to build momentum. Set if-then plans, e.g., if I feel like procrastinating, then I will work for just 5 minutes. Mindful self-talk. Catch negative thoughts and consciously reframe them. Our relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship. Self-punishment often leads to withdrawal trust issues, overdependence on external validation. Self-discipline rooted in compassion breeds authenticity, confidence. Healthier boundaries and connections. Changing your inner narrative creates a cascade of positive transformations outward. Sometimes self-punishment is deeply embedded, linked to trauma or past conditioning. Therapy, coaching, or support groups can be invaluable in rewiring these patterns. Asking for help is an act of self-discipline, not weakness. Consider David, who struggled with addiction and self-loathing. For years, his inner critic chained him to destructive behaviors. Through recovery, he learned to practice self-discipline with kindness, forgiving past mistakes, setting boundaries, and celebrating progress. His life transformed, inspiring others. Stories like David's remind us that no matter how deep the struggle, change is possible. This journey towards self-discipline isn't linear or easy. You will stumble, you will be tempted to punish yourself, but every moment is a new opportunity to choose differently. When you slip, respond with curiosity, not condemnation. When fear arises, remind yourself, growth is on the other side. When doubt creeps in, hold firm to your vision of the person you want to become. I invite you to join me, not just as a viewer, but as a co-creator of this transformative journey. Subscribe to this channel for weekly insights, tools, and stories designed to nurture your growth. Comment below. What's one way you will choose self-discipline over self-punishment starting today? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Together, we can build a community where compassion fuels success and authenticity breaks chains.